Bubonic plague bacteria. Let's talk about one of the most feared germs in human history. This bacterium lived inside fleas that traveled on rats through crowded cities, dirty streets, ships, farms, and marketplaces across Europe, Asia, and Africa. You would never even see the real killer coming. The bacteria itself is microscopic, smaller than a grain of dust on your fingertip, completely invisible without magnification. But its impact changed the entire world. The real power is how fast it spread through human trade routes. One infected flea could hitch a ride across continents on merchant ships. Entire cities suddenly went silent. Workers disappeared. Kingdoms weakened. Some historians believe it completely changed the balance of power in medieval Europe. For humans, the symptoms at first could seem like a terrible fever or severe flu. But for rats and flea populations, the bacteria moved like wildfire, turning ordinary streets into perfect transmission zones. It hunts indirectly. The flea bites a rat, then another rat, then eventually you. The bacteria enters the bloodstream and multiplies rapidly, while the victim has no idea what is happening inside their body. And here is the strange part. Some scientists believe the plague helped improve working conditions in Europe afterward because massive population loss suddenly made workers far more valuable. And somehow, the next germ became even more unstoppable. Smallpox virus. This virus lived anywhere humans lived. Villages, royal palaces, military camps, crowded ports. It followed people everywhere because humans were its only real home. The virus itself is unbelievably tiny, far smaller than a speck of flour floating in sunlight. Surprisingly, the power is its ability to spread before entire communities understood what disease even was. Smallpox helped shape wars, empires, and colonization. Some civilizations collapsed after exposure because populations had no immunity at all. For many people, it started like an intense flu with fever and exhaustion. Nothing unusual at first. But the virus attacked from inside, moving cell to cell like an invisible invader. It hunts through breath, touch, blankets, clothing, and crowded human contact. Imagine standing in a packed market while invisible particles drift through the air from a nearby cough. That was enough. The terrifying part is how long it survived around humans. Entire generations grew up expecting outbreaks as part of life itself. But the weirdest fact is that smallpox became the first major human disease ever fully eradicated through vaccination. Humans actually hunted the hunter until it disappeared from nature. And what comes next did not need war to spread. It only needed water. Cholera bacteria. This bacterium thrived in dirty drinking water, contaminated rivers, crowded cities, broken sewage systems, and flood zones. It especially exploded during the Industrial Revolution, when cities grew faster than sanitation systems. The bacteria itself is shaped kind of like a tiny curved comma under a microscope. The real power is speed. Cholera can spread through an entire city water supply before people even realize something is wrong. It completely changed human history by forcing governments to redesign sanitation systems, plumbing, and modern public health. For humans, early symptoms can feel like severe food poisoning or stomach sickness, but the real danger comes from rapid dehydration. It hunts by hiding inside water you trust, a cup from a well, a sip from a river. Even food washed with contaminated water becomes a delivery system. Once inside the body, the bacteria releases toxins that disrupt the intestines. And here is the shocking part. Cholera outbreaks helped humans discover that diseases could spread through contaminated water, completely changing modern medicine forever. But the next germ traveled faster than ships, rivers, or rats. It traveled with the wind itself. Influenza virus. This virus lives anywhere humans and animals gather together. Schools, offices, airports, farms, military camps. It also moves through birds and pigs before jumping into humans. The virus is microscopic, smaller than the width of a human hair by thousands of times. The real power is mutation. Influenza constantly changes its disguise, making it difficult for immune systems to fully recognize it year after year. One influenza pandemic in 1918 infected about a third of the world's population and changed global healthcare forever. For most people today, it feels like a terrible seasonal flu with fever, chills, coughing, and exhaustion. Usually miserable, but temporary. Yet historically, certain strains became devastating because people had no immunity. It hunts through the air. Tiny droplets leave a cough or sneeze and float around crowded rooms, trains, classrooms, and homes. You inhale them without noticing. The strange thing is that birds often carry influenza naturally without becoming seriously ill themselves, acting like silent global transport systems for future outbreaks. Before we continue, here is today's secret challenge. At the end of the video, I will ask one question that only viewers who watched every single germ can answer. First correct comment gets featured in the next video. And congratulations to our last winners, Daniel K., Sophia Plays, and Nature Nerd 77. Now prepare yourself, because the next organism has quietly shaped entire tropical civilizations for thousands of years. Malaria parasite. This parasite lives inside mosquitoes and spreads mostly through tropical forests, wetlands, villages, jungles, and humid cities near standing water. The parasite itself is microscopic, thinner than a strand of spider silk. Surprisingly, the power is manipulation. Malaria hijacks both mosquitoes and humans as part of its life cycle. Historians believe it influenced wars, slowed invasions, and even determined where entire populations could survive. For humans, it usually begins like a brutal fever, with chills, sweating, headaches, and exhaustion. Kind of like the worst flu imaginable. But inside the body, the parasite quietly invades red blood cells. It hunts using mosquitoes as flying syringes. The mosquito detects your body heat and breath at night, lands silently, and transfers parasites directly into the bloodstream while you barely feel the bite. And here is the weird part. Some scientists think malaria helped shape human evolution itself because certain genetic traits became more common in regions where malaria was everywhere. And the next germ became known as the slow killer, hiding inside human lungs. Tuberculosis bacteria. This bacterium spread through crowded factories, prisons, homes, trains, and growing industrial cities. It especially thrived where ventilation was poor and people lived close together. Under a microscope, the bacteria looks like tiny, pale rods lined up together. The real power is patience. Tuberculosis can remain hidden inside the body for years before becoming active. It changed human history by shaping hospitals, public health campaigns, and even architecture designed around fresh air and sunlight. For humans, early symptoms can feel surprisingly mild. A cough, fatigue, weight loss, something easy to ignore at first. It hunts through the air. One cough releases microscopic droplets, carrying bacteria into rooms, hallways, buses, and homes. Another person breathes them in without realizing it. And the strange part is that tuberculosis influenced fashion and beauty standards centuries ago. In some places, the pale appearance caused by illness was once wrongly seen as elegant or artistic. But the next virus created fear, not because of how fast it spread, but because nobody understood it at first. HIV. This virus lives entirely inside humans and spreads through bodily fluids. It emerged into global awareness in the late 20th century and completely changed medicine, healthcare systems, public awareness, and scientific research forever. The virus itself is unbelievably tiny, invisible except under advanced microscopes. The real power is stealth. HIV attacks the immune system itself, weakening the body slowly over years. Early symptoms can feel like an ordinary fever or mild sickness, making it difficult to detect without testing. It hunts quietly. Once inside the body, the virus targets immune cells and uses them to make copies of itself. Instead of attacking directly, it slowly reduces the body's ability to fight other infections. The strange part is how much HIV changed global conversations about public health, science, education, and stigma. It pushed medicine into entirely new territory and accelerated antiviral research worldwide. And then came the final germ, one that almost every person on Earth heard about at the same time. Coronavirus. This virus spread through cities, airports, homes, hospitals, offices, schools, and nearly every country on Earth within months. The virus itself is microscopic, covered in spike proteins that look almost like a tiny sea mine under magnification. The real power is transmission. Coronavirus spread through global travel faster than most outbreaks in human history. It changed daily life worldwide, almost overnight, reshaping work, education, travel, healthcare, and communication. For many people, symptoms felt like a mild cold or flu with coughing, fever, and tiredness. Others experience much stronger illness depending on health and age. It hunts through respiratory droplets, floating through indoor spaces. A conversation, a cough, shared air inside crowded rooms. That became enough for transmission. And the weirdest part is how quickly scientists around the world shared data, built vaccines, and tracked mutations in real time using modern technology never available during earlier pandemics. We have reached the end of our expedition through germs that changed human history. Here is the secret question. Which germ in this video was spread through fleas living on rats? Leave your answer in the comments. Thank you for exploring with me. Stay curious and watch where you step.